Hello, everybody. So, welcome to the first knowledge talk of Turnip Innovation Festival. We have with us Mr. Govind Kedia, who is going to take the session on the future of e-mobility. So, Mr. Govind Kedia, he is one of India's top experts in IP. So, he's presently managing director of Arctic Innovation Consulting. Arctic Innovation Consulting is also sponsoring this event for us to, make this event possible. So, presently, he's working with a team of IP experts doing various business consultancy projects, a lot of innovation in information research, patent, trademark, design registration in India are all the things that he does. He's an expert in identifying usable data on specialized topics such as consumer products, FMCG, clinical trials, electric vehicles, and so on. So I will give the session to Mr. Govind. Govind, welcome to the stream.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for having me, and it is my pleasure to be here today. And it's amazing to hear, what kind of innovation has been happening. Listening to Nishita, Mr. Godi, it was really exciting. And I also have something which I felt very excited about when I looked at what is happening in India in terms of EV innovation. Look at the kind of media coverage and the kind of conversation which people are having on EV. It's amazing and fantastic because I think being in Delhi, everybody knows that the challenge of bad airs and everything. I really hope that this changes very, very soon. So thank you for having me. I look forward to speak to you and interact with people and present my thoughts on that. So
I'll. Uh,
great. So, welcome everyone. Of course, thank you, Rahul, for introducing me, and thank you for giving an opportunity to be present here and sharing my thoughts. And what I'm going to talk about is future of electric mobility, and a lot of talks has been happening, a lot of discussions has been happening that okay, how this electric mobility will shape, how long will it take, a lot of questions around what will be the range, how much it will cost and so forth, right? But let's before that, let's try to get a bit of a sense on how much market and how much really the ecosystem of the mobility is, right? So let me put this question to the audience. There are 50 odd people and there are more people joining in, but before I start, let me hear some thoughts. Okay, how many vehicles around the world people feel that are actively on the roads on a daily basis? Let's do a bit of a round of guesswork. Million, billions, uh, what would thousands? What is your feeling that okay, around the world, how many vehicles are really there? So Rahul says 500 million. Any more guesses? All right. So see, if you look at the overall future of mobility, right? A lot of discussions has been happening. A lot of innovation has been happening. There is also talking about maybe after 20-30 years there is magnetic and induction based vehicles which don't even need a wheel, so to say, right? But if you look at the estimated, based on Google data, of course, I found out there are 1 billion passenger cars which are active on the world street today, right? So think about it that if there are billion vehicle, it's like almost population of India. Of course, we have 1.3 billion people, but think about it that it's that kind of the size of the mobility. And I'm talking about only the four wheelers, passenger cars. If we combine the logistics and probably the two wheelers, there is it will multiply further. Right? So think about that electric vehicle is kind of a very very start. I mean, if you probably go and dissect this data and see, okay, how many vehicles of these billions of vehicles are really electric vehicle, probably very, very small fraction of it, right? So as a process, it's going to be a huge process, and it's going to be a very rewarding process for electric vehicle if it succeeds the way it is, right? So that is one thing we need to keep in mind, that it's a very it's a very big market. People are looking forward, but people are also unsure, right? And if we if we look at from the money point of view, right? What again, various statistics are saying that it's a big 206 billion opportunity. Europe has been seeing a lot of growth in terms of numbers. Like Norway already has more electric vehicle than IC engine vehicles and so forth. So innovation in EV is required. More evolution, more is the demand, better the future. That's how electric vehicle is placed. But let's look at let's take a step back and think about the innovation, the future. And if you think about it, one of the major challenge for the EV is, battery EV charging stations. Right? We don't know. Everybody's talking about that. There is no enough infrastructure for us to be able to charge our vehicles. There has been one very peculiar ad which I think one of the battery swapping company has given, that people are throwing the wire from their second floor balcony to be able to charge their vehicles and so forth. So of course, public charging station is one of the area that people are thinking about. Then the lack of standardization. Remember those days when early mobile, there were different kind of charging. Nokia's patli pin and all that. If you remember those days, that every mobile charger had their own way to charge their phones, right? So of course there is a lack of standardization. If you have a certain vehicle, then you are looking for that patli pin ka charger. So that's also a problem in the area of electric vehicles as of now. Then there is a range and anxiety. This is probably one of the major concern. I heard some questions in the previous session also, that um, how long the lithium ion battery will take us. It's like asking kitna mileage degi in terms of our own way to think about the fuel efficiency and so forth, right? So it's our way, of course, but I think it's a real an anxiety that people have around range, and how we will be able to get the more range, and what will happen if I stop in somewhere, there is no charger, what will I do? um, then of course, how the payment method will work, in terms of if you are using a public infrastructure, how will I be paying, how much it will cost me to charge my electric vehicle and so forth. Battery swapping, again, it's a very promising concept, that I can swap my battery, but then how will be the standardization will happen, how will be, there are a lot of logistical problem with the battery swapping, how will it happen? Then what is the security of my electric vehicle, in terms of technology. People have been seeing some news around the fires in the electric vehicles and so forth, right? So these are probably um, one of the most common business need, so to say, from the EV industry point of view, right? Now if you think about from the innovation, from the academia, from the company's point of view, it needs to be solved, right? And it needs to be solved by by solving the technical challenge, which is how the fast charging technology will work, how to extend the range. There are some weight constraints. Then there are operating temperatures, which is linked to the security. Then the battery health check. Then we already heard about very exciting technology of biodegradable batteries. But what is the alternate to lithium ion? Sodium ion is also very actively talked about. Reliance made a very big acquisition in UK on a sodium ion battery and so forth, right? So a lot of activities happening, a lot of different things which are exciting. but at the same time, a lot of technical challenges remain unsolved, right? So that is one thing that I want to draw your attention, that when we are thinking about the future of mobility, talking about patents and designs and so forth, one thing we have to always keep in mind, that we have to look at the technical challenge and try to address that technical challenge, which in turn will solve the business problem. Sometimes what happens that especially when we are thinking about new ideas, we get the other way around. So always think about technical problem, how you can contribute in solving that technical problem. Even could be an incremental part of it. It may not be that your fast charging technology or whatever idea that you are thinking will drastically and disruptively change the fast charging technology. It may, but in reality it will always be incremental. So look at those ideas which are related to a certain technical challenge, and then relate that technical challenge to a business problem. That's how to approach IP. That's how to approach innovation in the area. That always think about what is the technical problem that you're solving, and how in turn it is solving a business problem. Right? So I hope it is making sense so far. Uh, and then let me move to the next slide. If you think about, if you look at what is happening in terms of patenting, in terms of innovation in the area, it's quite exciting. Of course, don't go look at 2021, because there is a gap of 18 months, as a lot of you may know, that it's a secrecy period between filing and the publication. But and government is also very active, right? Government has launched this FAME scheme. Then they have also extended this scheme to 2024 now, and as you can see, governments are also serious about this, right? And of course that is leading to more and more innovation and so forth, right? Now, if we look at electric vehicle as a if we dissect that technology, there are a lot of components to it, right? And there are unique problem associated with these components. Or of course, in a system, every function, every small component in EV needs to be optimized for range and for charging, and like I already discussed about the technical and the business problem, right? So think about uh, think about these areas. Think about, if you are from the academia, or you are a startup, or you are want to be a startup. Think about, okay, what area that I'm picking to solve a certain problem, which of course will be important to solve, right? So, like for example, okay, one can pick up, okay, BMS, right? In the battery management system, what are the typical challenges? How can you predict a certain event about the batteries before it is happening? How it is integrated, how it is more efficient, how it is also helping to reduce the range and anxiety, uh, how it is something which is which you would like to improve upon, right? So in lot of times, and one of the way that I always recommend to think about is to pick up a component or innovation, and then you think about, yes, this is what I would like to solve, right? Motors, then you go into the motors. Okay, what is the common problem in the motors, and try to solve that incrementally. Don't try to solve uh, that, okay, I will make that innovation which will change the world. That is definitely something will start with a small innovation, right? So always start small in terms of building technology. Especially I'm talking in context of academia and startups. Of course, that don't try to solve a very big problem with limited resource, right? And once you start these small incremental innovation, then you will be able to pitch it, or you are able to create more value, right? So that's what it is. And let's take an example of what the earlier speaker, Ms. Nishita, has already are building. Like for example, sustainability in the battery is one of the bigger concern right now. It is that they have picked one area, and then they are kind of building the entire ecosystem, their entire innovation around it, right? So that's very, very important to have focus. which I have seen that when we discuss with lot of academics and startups, there tend to be a lot of ideas, but they that 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 focus has to be there, right? So always remember, and you may, of course, people are who are in this area probably get more inside this diagram that I've shown here, right? um, so best is that, and then this is one more way to look into it. Like if you look at the components, there is a design. So so of course, looking at that diagram within a EV, you can also pick these components like big areas, which in itself is a business in itself, like the machine design, the drive train, the EV charging system, infrastructure, degradation, fast charging, BMS. So these are the broad components. What I found out, that these are the broad components in which you can kind of fit in all these different parts, and then you try to pick up one or two areas and then try to solve some problems around it. And I can tell you there are a lot of problems to solve. Yes, there are a lot of patents around it, but patents and taking to the market will also change the course of technology, the practicalities, and so forth. So don't worry about, if even if there is a very crowded space in patents, there are a lot of patents in a certain area. What you need to find out, that okay, what is the problem or incremental problem which is not there, which is very much open, and people want to solve that, right? So that's something that I wanted to share today in this session, that it's very important to solve and identify that problem uh, in the conversation, right? Now, what I'm going to talk about in a bit is also about patents. I would like to again share my screen and show you something which the link has been shared, so you all can log in, or you can just watch me play around the data. This is a public. Our effort was to help all of you guys to be more uh, friendly with the patent data, so to say. I know that a lot of people get, okay, there are a lot of patents and all that. So this is a dashboard which we have created to help you all innovators to just get a familiarity with the patents, how and what is being going on. So this data is basically all the EV related patents filed in India. That is something I wanted to also show you, and tell you how to use it. You can save this link. You can browse as much as you want. There is no fees. There is nothing that you need to pay for. But this is something we have collected patents right from 2009 roughly till September 2021. We will be updating it maybe in couple of months again. But what our intention was to find out, okay, what is going on in the area of electric mobility patenting only in India. There are, of course, a lot patent filings around the world, but let's start from India, so that at least from the innovation point of view, just look at, okay, what kind of companies are coming in, what kind of patents that are being filed, what kind of designs are being filed, right? So this is something which I highly recommend you all to play around. This is a fairly interactive platform where you can think about and think about companies and see what they are doing. So, for example, let's say if I want to see, okay, what Bajaj Auto is doing in this area, it will automatically update in few seconds. It may take some time because the data is huge in that. But okay, if once we look at Bajaj Auto, we see that they are filing a lot of designs, right? They are filing something around EV train, they are filing something around batteries. There are a couple of different kind of innovation. Then they're talking about BMS, they're talking about battery charging, battery swapping, and wireless charging, and so forth, right? So this again gives you an idea that, okay, what has been in Bajaj's R&D pipeline, right? So when you are also thinking about, and when you're also finding your collaborators in an industry, probably this data can also help you find some of your collaborators, that okay, uh, uh, let's reach out to Bajaj or Suzuki, or for that matter, who are probably in the same problem solving that as we are doing. Probably we can add more value to them, right? So this is how you basically find. Then of course you can read through the patent as well. You can look at, okay, what kind of designs they are filing and so forth and so forth, right? So again, these data is again with the caution that of course we have not manually it has been used or curated manually and automatically. So there may be some um, false negatives, false positives, so to say, in the research field. But still, it's a very good indicator for all of you to play around this data, look around. Okay, what is it happening? What kind of foreign companies are doing? Honda has probably not many vehicles in the market, but they are still filing a lot of patents around batteries, BMS, and powertrain, and that is probably an indicator that they will launch in India in a very big way. Probably, once the infrastructure is there, once the things are settled in terms of the market and so forth, right? So these are very early indicators that you all can benefit, and also can help you identify more and more business problems, what areas that you can think of as innovation, which I have been telling that you have to think about, finding more and more challenging problems, so to say, right? That's the bigger challenge sometimes. That okay, and you will also find some very very good companies which you may not have heard of, but you feel that okay, they are still in the race. We don't hear about them, but patent activity is a very good indicator that they are also in this area, right? So again, this is something I highly recommend you to look at. And this also gives you an indication from where the technology is coming from. So if you look at it, Japan is probably the one of the higher, of course, given Hondas of the world coming from there. They are, uh, they are leading the race with Japanese uh, first filing, and then they are coming in India and so forth, right? So I would say that save this link, try to use this data. Happy to have your feedbacks, and also what else you can learn from it. But you can get a lot of insights around it. You can also find some patents and so forth, right? So I hope this was useful for you. And if it is yes, then give me a bit of yes, that it was useful. It will also help me understand that and what can we do about it. Okay, great. So let me get back to my presentation again. So of course, as I've said that we have all these categories uh, which we have mapped in the technology categories in the patent landscape that I've shared. So you can also think about that when we talk about BMS, it will include all these areas and so forth. So I just wanted to help in terms of telling you that uh, that the categories in the patent landscape is much broader. Of course, that needs a lot of manual work and lot of further analysis. But from the indicator point of view, it may be really useful for all of you to be able to take some insights and take it forward to the innovation. Great. So now let's get some hands dirty, and also get into bit more detail inside a patent, right? So I'll talk about some examples of some examples of patents filed in the BMS area. So one very interesting patent which we found was which was published in last year, very recently on 24th of December. And they are talking about that how there is a secure transaction between the um, swapping situation, right? So when you will submit a discharge battery, then you are getting a charge battery. Then of course, if you think about it, it's probably something you will be solving at some point, that uh, there will be theft, there will be misuse, there will be stealing happening, because batteries will become like a commodity. It will become very very important to ensure that it is not, the battery stations are really technologically equipped to avoid these things. And but still, if you think about it, this is very early patent, right? This may be still far 3 years, 4 years down the line. But patents are not something that you also develop for tomorrow, today. It is something that you also develop for tomorrow, right? So it's very important that when you are thinking about the ideas, think about also what are the future problems that you may face, right? And as you can see in this case, they're trying to solve a problem which is futuristic. As of now, even the basic swapping charging station are still underdeveloped, but this is something which, company anticipates that yes, this is something which is going to be a practical problem, and they're trying to protect it, trying to file patent around it, right? So always be uh, aware about these challenges. Look at other industries or other parallel economies in a similar space, or which can have a parallel to the EV economy, that what are the problems they have been facing and how can I solve it, right? So this is one very interesting I wanted to share, that how they are doing this offline authentication of battery swapping, right? So this is something which may give you some ideas, some areas to research. This again, coming from Tata Motors, that that how is it that they are estimating the state of health, or the state of charge of electric vehicle, right? And of course this is one of the very very important aspect to a BMS and aspect to a battery technology. But again, it is also predicting how when the schedule of maintenance has to be, when it should be replaced. So you are pretty much prepared for all your planning of your vehicle servicing, and when okay, this is the next time I'll going to spend, or I'm going to purchase a new battery and so forth, right? So again, if you it's not a very old patent also. So Tata is also developing this kind of BMS, that is going to determine this, that okay, when I will be doing the next round of maintenance and so forth, right? Okay. So this is again one more example from Mahindra, is about electrical circuits, and voltage surge, how it is going to save, when there is a voltage fluctuation, and then there are um, when so basically again solving this problem of estimate the charge, making sure that the electricity is taking in at the right portion from the grid, and how to control the surge and so forth, right? So again, so if you think about it, these are very real practical problems people are solving, may or may not be in the market today, but since this is an indicator of what kind of problems that you can solve, right? So go ahead and also read some of these patents. It will give you a lot of insights when you are planning your research, when you are thinking about your ideas. Okay, this is something I need to solve. Okay, this is a great idea, this can solve this problem. I would say that it is very important to establish this problem within these patent documents, within these innovations which have been done by others. One more example around then the heating and control method. One of the major problem is with the lithium ion is that it may be very sensitive to heat. It may even blast. I think there has been some instances which has got very negative publicity around EV vehicles, that there is some vehicles got fire and so forth, right? So again, people are working towards solving this problem. And if you think about it and you read this patent, it may not be the most you know the most efficient or the best solution to solving this problem, but it will do. It's an incremental innovation. It's something that will solve the problem of the industry, problem of heating, problem of lithium ion batteries and so forth, right? So this is these are few examples. Then again, range problem, this is again from academia, so that's very good that it is coming from academia, that I wanted to highlight, that they have filed around the this ultra capacitor driven electric vehicle and so forth, right? So again, uh, uh, so, so this is again something that they are thinking, okay, how to regenerate the battery power again when you are using it for batteries and so forth, right? So again, this is something which is very exciting problem to solve. Range is a problem and you are thinking about it. So try to relate this in your researches. uh, some examples I wanted to show around the charging systems. um, so this is one example where different kind of charging ports are there, right? So if one of the, as I said, one of the major problem maybe is different kind of charges, right? Because back in old days, not a micro USB was a standard, or the Type C was a standard for mobile. And I remember that there was at least 10 different chargers for 10 different kind of phones, right? So that's also going to happen, at least when we will start using the EV, and there will be different standards of charges. I hope not that as bad, but of course, because there is also a practical, uh, on the lighter note, yes, there will be different kind of charges, but on the practical note, it is for the reason because every vehicle has different capacity to take the charge. So so it is very important that people know what charger will be there. So if you look at the Teslas of the world, which are equipped with the fast chargers, uh, they have a different kind of circuitry that they can take a very high voltage. But if you look at, say, the lower end, or let's say the practical vehicles which like Tata Nexons and maybe the two wheelers, the circuitry is not equipped to take that kind of such a surge of voltage or the electricity to be able to charge the vehicle, right? So that is why these chargers are different, and that is why it is a problem also, that how it will be solved in the future and so forth, right? So that's there. Again, this is Ather has been, of course, uh, going in a Tesla way, in a small manner, that they have said that, look, we will put all our charging patents as an open source, so that the ecosystem of the charging stations develop. So that's a very good initiative. That kind of I have we have written certain articles around, if you find it on Google as well, where there is more detail around this topic. But um, it's again, one thing I wanted to highlight, that how they are developing the system, and then they are also interested to create this as a community, in terms of making sure that their technology proliferate, and then they become their standard become more common as against others, right? It's like simple as making Windows available to many people, so that they are equipped or they are more aware around it. Or maybe in India, it's like accounting software like Tally, which were very early, and made sure that everybody has access to it, somehow, either with the proper license, or without it, or with educational licenses, but people get more and more used to such systems. So I think that's also one of the intention that Ather has, to be able to have this ecosystem, which is great initiative, by the way. I really feel that this is a very good system to develop more community for that. One more, I think this is probably the last one, is again how the corrosion is basically prevented when the charging contacts happens and so forth, right? So again, very practical problem that people are trying to solve. Some more, one more example around it. These are some of the registered designs. I think my previous or the next sessions will also help you understand the relevance of design, registered designs in India, and design patents in the US and Europe. It's also something which is very, very important in the area. These are some of the examples of people have registered their designs as as in innovation in the area. So that's something that is something you can also think about, to file designs on something which have some aesthetic or some functional activities which may not be filed as patent but can be registered as designs. These are some of the recent news. So I just wanted to end this with a note that a lot of activities happening. Blue Smart raised 25 million on charging infra. The Ola Electric has been producing 1,000 scooters. Tata has been, selling 50,000, and they are probably one of the very early EV entrants and also dominating the market. When on the two-wheeler side, Ather, Ultraviolet talks are making a lot of news around it. So that's all from my end. Rahul, I think I'm just on time. Probably open for some questions. And thank you for all the audience to be here and staying patient with me to be able to and listening to me. Happy to have more questions, and also at 1 o'clock I'll be there for any questions regarding patents and anything around EV I can contribute. So over to you, Rahul.
Yeah, so if the audience has any questions, they can ask right now.
Very interesting thing you mentioned on design patents. Do you have any idea about the interest people have who about filing design patents in India? Like, uh, the importance of it. How are people waking up to their importance? How is the overall feel?
Absolutely. I think design patents are very, very, or design registered designs are very exciting area for EV vehicles. And I think automobile sector as a whole has been filing a lot of designs earlier than EV also, like all the grill designs, all the stand designs, and vehicle designs and so forth. And EV is going to a to a way that a lot of incremental innovation is happening, which may not have a functional or may not be something which will make technology, but that is but still a very important innovation in terms of EV. It could be a look and feel, or it could be the way the vehicle itself looks.
Mm-hmm.
It is very exciting. If you think about EV, people are trying to solve different problems with EV. Logistics problem, okay, how to put a stand on EV, which is very innovative. So how to
Mm-hmm.
protect those innovations, right? Design is probably one of the most easier, cheapest way to do it, and easy to also stop the competition to follow, and easy to license also, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so let's say, for example, if you want to solve a problem of putting high, let's say, you want to carry your gas cylinders on a EV logistical two-wheeler. So how can you create more innovative designs which carry those cylinders in a more efficient
Mm-hmm.
manner? How it can be more balanced to the vehicle, that vehicle does not topple also, right? So those smart innovations are also registered as
True.
designs. That is something very, very important for people to solve. It's not, again, as I'm saying again and again, it's not going to be always about disrupting innovation. It's always about incremental innovation, because electric vehicle has been in 1900s when IC was just developing also. So it's not that people have not thought about it in this century. People have thought about it in 19th century when
Mm.
there were IC engine versus the electric vehicles, right? So I think some fundamental technologies are there. Of course, now we have to improve and take it to the next level. So that's my
Mm.
take on
In
it.
in Shark Tank India, Piyush Bansal said that some new player is going to capture the market because old companies they are still making ICE, they have legacy
Yes,
issues. So
yes.
एक नया player आएगा और वो मारे. And Srikant Shula sir also earlier said it's the next $1 billion will be made in this
Right.
industry. So
Yes, yes. So I think, and see, very, very logical, because see, there are 1 billion vehicle passenger, which is again an estimate that is on the road today, right? So if you think about the replacement of those vehicles from EV, right? Of course, it's a massive opportunity.
mm,
People are also, uh, you know, more and more millennials, or more and more people are more environmental conscious now. Of
mhm,
course, there is always a debate that from where the electricity is coming, it is again coming from the coal powered stations and all that. That's a different discussion altogether. I don't want to kind of mix it. but still, electric is still a cleaner way to, at least from the compared to the traditional fossils, EV is still a better way to do it, right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think if there is a billion vehicle to replace, then of course there are billions of dollars of opportunities there.
yeah.
That's how I put it.
That's why we are here in this Turnip Innovation, this conference theme, because it's not just about innovation, because innovation will be directed in this direction where big businesses will be made. So, all
Yes.
right, folks from the chat, if there is any one last question, if you can have before we end the session, because we want to start also at 12:15, Mr. Tapan Brahma's session. He's an expert in patents, 20 years experience in global filing litigation. So, he will have very valuable insights on patent filing in India. Uh, yeah, there's some question by, some comment rather. No one will go for EV just for environment. Value has to be, yeah.
No,
That's a very
absolutely.
good
I
point. Yeah,
think absolutely value has to be generated. But I think the value in EV is there. It's cheaper. It's more convenient. So of course, with the infrastructure developing, I do feel EV has much chance to dominate easily. But yes, more and more people are getting environment conscious. So my only comment was that yes, it may also give you a bit of sense that I'm also contributing in a green economy.
yeah. It's follow-up question. What do you think the problem that EV has not been successful so far?
See, I think problem as I listed, all these problems that I've listed are still under solution. A lot of work to be done in fast charging, lot of done to be done in the battery swapping technologies. I think the problem that I have listed, or maybe not listed also, are still to be done. One of the very interesting, conversation I had with one of the founders of a very large electric company, that people are not thinking about the maintenance of electric vehicles. That, from a business point of view, that okay, when there will be so many of electric vehicles on the road, after the warranty period is over with the OEMs, who is going to service them, right? So there is a big business opportunity in the maintenance of these EV vehicles also, right? So I still feel that all these problems are still in the incremental manner. Still, the BMS is developed. Still, the fast charging ecosystem has to be developed. More semiconductors should be able to take more charge and able to pass it to the battery, which is still
Mhm.
very expensive today, right? So
Yeah.
those things has to be developed. I do feel lot of changes, lot of problems to be solved.
Mhm.
People, it's just that we have to find a problem to solve it. That's the only thing,
Yeah.
right?
Thank you. Thank you, Govind. Really pleasure to have you. And folks, Govind, he will also be at 1 o'clock. He will answer all your questions related to IPR, related to patent system, patent filing, ideas, products. Govind has been in the industry for more than 15 years. He's among the top IPR professionals in India. So make use of the time at 1 p.m. And I will see you in the next session, whose link is there in the comment section. For now, thank you, Govind, and we are in touch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.